Hey fam, it's your girl Amber Wynn, and today's session with Kimberly Worthy of A Worthy Cause is going to cover systems. If you've been challenged in the area of answering those questions from funders about how you're going to deliver on X, Y, and Z, it's in the proof. And the proof comes from your system. So join us with Kimberly today as we discuss systems. If you were to apply for a grant, a funder's going to want to know a couple of things. Number one, they're going to want to know, are you qualified to do this work? And that's why when we did the organizational profile, we talked about your background and how the organization. Okay. The other thing they're going to want to know about is, if I give you all this money, how am I going to know that you're going to manage it the right way? And that's where systems come in, right? Yeah. So there's this word, it's called GAAP. Have you heard of it before?
Not until I've been in this modular. Is it in this modular?
It is.
General accepted
accounting practices.
Yes.
You get a star for that one, lady.
I am learning some things.
So with generally accepted accounting practices, basically it says this: as a business, no matter which focus you're on, no matter if it's, construction, or if it's nonprofit, or if it's engineering, whatever, we want you to use a format that in business everybody recognizes, and that's called generally accepted accounting practices. And we practice that in the nonprofit sector. So when a funder says, I need 2 years of your income statement, it needs to be provided in a generally accepted accounting practice, which is a generally accepted accounting form. So when they ask you for an income statement, when they ask you for a balance sheet, those are all GAAP type of financial statements. And anybody who's in business should be able to look at those and understand where your organization is. That's why it's important that you have seasoned board members who understand how to read a financial statement, because those are the ones that, okay, so it's all tying together. So when a funder says, well, Kimberly, you're asking me for $250,000, how will I know if you can manage the money properly? You've never had $250,000 before, or even better, even if you have, I've never given you 200. So how will I know if you can manage this money? Because you're talking a good game, right? You're saying, we're going to help these kids and we're going to teach them how to bet. How do I know? How would you answer that?
I have systems in place like QuickBooks to keep me up to date on money out, money in, and how we're spending it. I have receipts, Adobe Scan, where I'm scanning in my receipts, so we don't miss, anything that needs to go into that system.
Yes, that's exactly it. So I will tell you, and I told you before, you hire your executive director first, then you hire a virtual assistant, because that virtual assistant is going to help you with recruiting your board. Your board is then going to fundraise. Now you have money. The first thing you want to purchase are your systems. So yes, you want to get QuickBooks, because QuickBooks is going to help you answer the funder's question: how will I know that you will manage my money properly? So first things first, you may not have written a grant, but let's just say you had 3 fundraisers. One was a fish fry, one was a pancake breakfast, and one was a car wash. And you raised $500 for each one of those 3 fundraisers. So you now have $1,500. You put those $1,500 into your business banking account, not your personal one.
Right.
You put them into your business banking account. And then what happens is, as you make transactions, so as you pay for, let's just say you want to have a couch in your rec room so that your youth can hang out. Let's just say you want to put in, one of those electric water fountains, not a fountain, but like where, you have the water bottle and the
Oh
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah,
the water in the cup.
exactly, exactly. And let's just say you put in a popcorn machine because you want your kids to come in, and when they come in they have snacks and there's popcorn. So you made purchases. Now at the end of that fiscal year, those transactions are tracked because they are connected to QuickBooks. So when a funder says, what did you buy, you go bloop 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 bloop, because there's a filter in QuickBooks that will give you what you spent when, right? So
Right.
you have 30 days to spend it. And then finally, at the end of, that fiscal year, you can say, hey, here's where all of this went, and it's tracked. So it's not so much about how much you have in the bank account. It's not. It's about, have you put systems in place that can track the money so that a funder at any point in time can say, how much money have you spent? Your QuickBooks is going to say, from year to date, this is how much do you have left? QuickBooks can tell you this is how much and how, right? So systems are important because they answer the question, how? They answer the question, how? So if your funder wanted to know the impact that you make in your community, another system that might be able to help them to do that is, what?
Goodness.
It's the electric sign. So you have a tablet.
The e-sign. Okay, the sign is, that's like how many people. Oh, okay. So like the iLobby, the proxy click. So that's, yeah. So how many participants have you served?
Exactly, right?
Okay,
so they're like, so we gave you $250,000. Like, how many people have come through the doors?
Right.
You when your kids come in, the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to sign in, right? So in the old days, we just had a paper sign-in sheet, right?
Yeah, clipboard.
And look, if you don't have the funds to have, but electronics is so cheap now, but as long as you have a sign-in sheet, something that can track, right? How many people have come in, right? So that at the end of your fiscal period, you can say, I served 25 duplicated. So the word is duplicated and unduplicated. Unduplicated means that every time somebody comes through your door, they're new. They haven't received service before. So think of like a food pantry. Like maybe they get different people every month, or a clinic. They get, those are unduplicated. They only go once. Duplicated is they continue to come. So you would serve 25 duplicated youth. And you could say, we've had an impact because we've met with them 27 times. How do you know? Because they have the sign-in sheet.
Sign-in sheets.
What's another system? Let's talk about fundraising. There's this thing called CRM, Client Relations Management System. And that system is extremely important to a nonprofit. And most nonprofits don't understand it, so they won't invest in a CRM till probably like 3, 4, 5, 6 years into the game, because they don't realize all of the information that is captured in a CRM. Think about it this way. Let's just say, Kimberly, you've got people in the community who love the work that you're doing. So when you're sending out your newsletter and you saying, hey, we want to feature Amber. She's our star volunteer. She comes in and she, talks to the girls about hygiene and, hair and makeup and things like that. So we want to say thank you. And so at the end of that article, you're like, if you want to support the work that we do here, click and donate, right? So they click, and over a period of time, you put a highlight of one of your participants. We're so proud of Gabriel. He came in, he was emancipated, he didn't finish high school. He got his GED. Not only that, he went to community college. Not only that, he went further and got his BA, and now he has a full-on job. He's da-da-da-da-da. And you put that in your newsletter, and there's a little bitty button that says, help us create more Gabriels, right? So they click on that. So this is a system that is allowing you to, at the end of the month, look to see which people are interested in which programs.
Mm. So then you can target those people.
You already ahead of the game, right? So let's just say you've been sending out these newsletters for a whole year. At the end of the year, when you sit with your board and you're like, all right, we're going to strategically plan on increasing our individual donors, or, going after some major donors, they're going to say, well, how do you know? You get the metrics from that newsletter and you're like, well, Amber's always clicked on the spotlight for the youth. She loves that. She always clicks on it. And guess what? She even donates. So those metrics, right? Those systems are what will give you insight to your donors, to your constituents. Without that, you're going to be guessing, or you won't know. Without that, you won't be able to create a strategy for how to increase your individual donors. But you've got Constant Contact, or MailChimp, or Active Campaign, whatever system that you have that allows you to send that newsletter out. It also creates some metrics. It captures what's going on within that newsletter. If they're clicking on this button, if they're clicking on this button, and then you get to see, well, most people really like this type of story. They like the interviews better than if we just write it up. So then you can create more interviews, and you can say, well, dang, nobody clicked on this button. This button was like, volunteer, clean up.
Right. So we know what people don't want to do.
Exactly. So this is the way you get to learn your followers, your supporters, your constituents. But most importantly, this is the information that you and your board are going to use when you start to prospect for individual and major donors. You can say, hey, Amber, this is Kimberly. I'm the executive director, and I noticed that you seem to really like the program with the kids. And I'm going to say, I'm so inspired by your stories. And you're going to say, I'm so inspired by my kids. But guess what? We have a wait list. We've got like 15 other kids who are waiting to get into the program. And so I've been reaching out to donors to see if you think you'd be interested in giving at a higher level so we can bring more kids in. And I'd be like, well, I don't know. How much is that? Well, for $25 a week, for 15 weeks, we can, serve 3 more kids. And I'd be like, I think I can do that. Yeah, you think so? $25 again for a week for like 12 weeks. I can do that. Great. And that's how it starts. Now that you have these metrics about how people are engaging with your content, that is what you will use to do what's called prospecting. Okay. People are like, well, Amber, how do I, increase my individual donor? How do I get major donors? It starts with knowing who they are. And if you're putting things in this newsletter and they're clicking and reading, or if they're not clicking and they're not reading, that tells you something about your audience too.
Right, exactly.
But if you can say, oh my goodness, because you can have the metrics, be charts or graphs or numbers. You can see, and you can say to the board, okay, we can create a strategy around this. So it's important that you understand that system is important. So let's just say you get the information from your newsletter, Constant Contact, MailChimp, whatever you use to send out your emails. Now you have this information. You're going to take that information about your potential supporters and you're going to put it in a CRM. That's what we started off with the CRM, a client relations management system. And that's going to be Salesforce, Blackbaud, Classy, Apricot, one of those, right? And basically what you're going to do is put in all of the contact information. You're going to put in Amber Wynn, my address, my telephone number. You're going to put in how much I donate, like how regularly I donate. So if normally I just give $25 a month, that's important to know because maybe that's all I have. But what if I do $25 in September and then $25 in January and then $25 in May? Your campaign could be, hey, Amber, could you contribute every month as opposed to once or twice a month? So that's how you start off, right? Her sweet spot seems to be 25. Amber, would you commit to $25 a month? I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And then the next year you can say, Amber, could you go up to $50 a month? Like, yeah, I can do that. And then that third year, you'd be like, Amber, let's go have coffee. Let's go talk about, right?
Right.
Right. But you have to have that information, because without that information, you can't see what my habits are.
Right.
Once you know
Right.
my habits, you can be like you, because if you just in the dark, we're just like, oh, Amber clicked on that story. Let's see if she wants to give $500,000. Well, I got $25.
She donated.
But when you put that information in Salesforce for nonprofits, or you put it in for Blackbaud or whatever system that you have, what happens is you start to create a profile. So you may also put, okay, I went to lunch with Amber. I found out that she has a husband, and her husband works for Lockheed Martin, right? So that's important to know, because now the next conversation might be, hey, we've got this employee matching program. Do you think that your husband, we found out that Lockheed Martin does a match. So, but you have to know this information about these people. And the only way that you have this information is if you have a system by which to collect it, and to hold it, and to gather it, and to use it to forecast, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing you can do is, let's just say you do have a robust group of people who've been supporting you. You can run a report, and you can say, okay, it's been 3 years, and for the last 3 years, these 20 people have given this amount, give or take. Mm-hmm. So when you're building out, remember on the budget, that bottom part where the revenue, you can say, well, generally speaking, these 30 people generally give the same amount. So we're going to put in this line item for individual donors that amount, because generally speaking, for the last 3 years, that's how much they've given. So that's how we're able to forecast. But if you don't have this information in a system where you can look at it, compare it to the previous year, compare it to the year before that, it's going to be hard for you to figure out what the patterns are.
Right.
When a funder says to you, so how will you sustain this program? Like, what's your sustainability plan? You can say, for the past 3 years, we've had 30 donors who have actively given $30,000. The program, let's just say it's 80,000. So you can say, we are going to commit that 30,000. Then our board is going to commit the other 25,000. Like, so you can come up with a plan for that grant.
Right.
That's based on
the information. So it's not like you're just making stuff up. You actually have the information.
We have it, because for the last 3 years, these 30 people have, donated 30,000. So it's safe to say they're going to continue to do it.
Yes.
So that's why you have to have this information, so that you can leverage it to powerfully position yourself. They don't do them that often, but back in the day, funders used to have what's called a match. I'm going to give you $150,000, but you have to match it. It was like you demonstrating to them that you're committed, right? If you do this much, you get. So if that were the case, you could say, okay, well, we can match 30,000 because we know that these 30 people. So it's just important to be able to see what's going on in your organization in terms of the money coming in, the money going out. The other thing you can do for CRM is input the information of your kids. So let's just say you're working with 200 kids, Kimberly, and from September to May, you typically have 100 kids, but come the summer, it doubles. And it doubles because it's the summer.
Right.
Nowhere to go. Right. They have nowhere to go. So if you are doing your attendance every year, and you look and you say, why is it that our budget dips in the summer? Like, we go through money so quick. Why do utilities go up? And why? So you say to the board, listen, we keep coming up short around November, December. And they're like, why? And you couldn't figure it out. But if you have put all of this information in the system, you'd be like, It's because during the summer, our numbers triple. So does our utilities. And so do them kids eating up our food.
It's a domino effect.
Exactly. And so you say to the board, so in April, we need an infusion of money to cover the expenses for the summer.
Right.
We already know, we've seen it for the past 3 summers. There's going to be an increase because we have more kids because the school is out.
Mm-hmm.
Only way that you can even get to that is if you track your information. Now, most people say, well, I just use, Google Sheets, or I just use Excel. Google Sheets and Excel will gather the information, but they don't give you trends.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard for them to forecast. Whereas with these other systems, Blackbaud and Salesforce, you ask them, look at this from this period to this period, from this period to this period, from this period to this period. So over 3 years, you can say, look at the data and compare it. You can do that in QuickBooks as well, right? You can say, how much revenue was generated from January to December in 2021, 2022, and 2023. And it gives you side-by-side information.
Mm-hmm.
You can say to your board, listen, every year we're going lower and lower in terms of the amount of money that we're generating. This is impacting us. And they're like, what are you talking about? You can show them the documentation.
Okay. Here's the graph right here. You see it's going down.
So no longer are you making things up. You've got facts. You've got documented proof. And you can use that not only for your funders, but when you're talking to your board and you say, hey, y'all need to ramp up the way you fundraise, or this outlay, we had plumbing issues and it destroyed the floor. So we need to but you have to have things that are captured, data, information, and then it will tell you the story yourself.
Yes. And that way you can see when you're about to crash and burn and you need to go in another direction. You need to do something different because you have systems. I love systems in place to let you know what's going on at all times.
Now, there are some people who are not comfortable with technology. That would be me. That would be me. But when you start to look at it as, wow, these systems are going to powerfully position me, as you said, to be able to talk to a funder, right?
Mm-hmm.
These systems will allow me, think about it. When you're writing a grant and they're saying to you, well, how are you going to sustain this program? And you're like, I don't know. And then you go into your QuickBooks and you can say, over the last 3 years, like, what type of money have I brought in? You push a couple of buttons and then it shows you 30 supporters give this. You're like, well, there's my answer. But you can only do that with systems.
Right.
If your board says, well, we want to do a funding campaign, but we don't know what to bank it on, you can be like, well, let's go and see what the data says. You can say, since the pandemic, donations have dropped 15%. This is the campaign that you can say to your funders. Hey guys, since the pandemic, donations have dropped 15%. As a result, we've had to, either let go of somebody, or we couldn't, take that field trip, or but you now have some data that you can use to create a campaign around. So the campaign is, 15 for the Wynn, right? Help us close that gap 15% so that we can, right. But people don't really look at systems usually until they start getting government grants, because you have to be so careful with the money that you spend for the government. But the reality is you need to be careful no matter who's giving you money.
Yes. I mean, whether somebody giving you money or not, I just feel like you need systems to successfully run your organization. Like, other than that, you are making it up as you go along, and it might be good for a little while, but in the long run, no, it's not gonna work.
And here's the thing, so many people, like I said, wait until like year 3, 4, 5 to get systems in place, not really realizing that those systems will put you like ahead of your competitor, because those systems will help you to tell your story. And those systems, like you said earlier, will let you know, oh man, I'm crunchy over here. Let me do some more. or really great over here. But systems, if they are used properly, can really help you to position yourself for growth, because now you have numbers that you can use to forecast, to create strategies around, to document, to prove to whoever's asking for them that this is in fact, the case.
Right. Exactly.
So I made sure that I focused specifically on systems, because I wanted to point out to my founders how very essential, how crucial systems are to the longevity of your program, especially in the beginning. If you don't have a big track record, but you have integrity in your practices, that says a lot to a founder. Okay, she only has $1,500, but she's managed those $1,500 for a whole fiscal year, right? She said that she was going to, improve the environment for her youth so that they felt like it's a place at home. I can see she purchased a couch, she purchased a water fountain, she purchased that popcorn machine. It tells the story right there, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to have systems. And I think a lot of times my founders don't think about it. They're thinking, I got to hire these people. Yes. But before you start hiring people, you want to be, and even like ADP. You guys have ADP in Missouri? Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
ADP or whatever that system is, when a funder says to you, like, how are you paying your people? You can't Zelle them.
Right.
You can't Cash App them. And you can't, because you're required by law to pay taxes on those. So you have to have a payroll system in place by which you pay your staff. Even if they're 1099, even if they're part-time, you still need to have a system that if the EDD came in and said, how are you paying your people? You're like, right here, blue, right?
Yeah.
Once a month or twice a month, you see that the payroll taxes have been taken out. You see that workers' comp has been taken out. Systems really give you credibility. And when those funders ask you, how much did you make in Q1 of 2023? You go to your system and you hit that button that says, report, right? How many people did you serve in Q1 of 2023?
Go to my sign-in app. Boop. Here you go.
How many funders, how many supporters did you have in Q1 of 2023?
I can go to my donors in my little, what is it? Is it my QuickBooks?
No, it's Blackbaud or Classic.
Blackbaud, yeah. Donors Perfect, Kindful, stuff like that.
That's right. If they say to you, how many people did you engage with in Q1 of 2023? That was your newsletter.
Yeah, I was like, that'd be my newsletter, because then they get to click on whatever story they like, or if they donated.
And your social media. So if you use Facebook or Instagram and you say, hey guys, my kids are going to be doing a community service project. We're going to go to the park to clean up. We'd love to have you, come down, bring your trash bags, bring your gloves, and come down and support us. Technically, if you have 10,000 followers, you just engaged with them. So you get to count that. So if they're like, how many people did you engage with for Q1 2023? You'd be like, well, we've got the newsletter. So that was 2,000 people. That's who we sent out. Oh, we sent out 3 blasts during October on Instagram. That was 10,000. And Facebook, that was 5,000. So altogether, you can say we engaged with 7,000 people.
That was like my only question, other than the fact that I just really love systems. And I mean, like, QuickBooks, they do a lot of different things. So like, because I don't want to just have like a bunch of systems. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather have a system that does the majority of the things. And if they don't do that, then I'll pick up another one. Is that usually how it works?
That is. You want to maximize your resources. You don't want to have 15 systems, especially if those systems don't work, don't talk to each other. You know what I mean? But they have it now, like, for example, for example, Constant Contact connects to Instagram and Facebook. So when you create your newsletter, you can also shoot it out through that, right? They have it like with Blackbaud, they have it so where it connects to Word. So instead of you writing letters individually, you have the list of all of your donors. It connects to Word, so you can just send out your letters from. So you want to get systems that talk to each other,
Yes.
streamline your processes, so you're not doing all this extra work for no reason.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Right? People say, "Well, Amber, which CRM should I use?" Well, Amber, which? Okay, I can't determine that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't determine that. Every organization is different. You know,
Right, because they have different needs, right? And then we're at like different points on our journey. For what I'm seeing, you know, you got your beginning, you got I've been doing this for a little bit, I know what I'm doing, and then we got the I got this. You know what I mean? And so you're gonna need different things for those different points on your journey.
It's very personal. And here's what I say: I done gave you the dang house. I got to give you the furniture too. Like, y'all got to do some work. You got to do some research. Right? You got to do something. Come on now. You
I
can
feel like you gave us everything but the utilities. We got a little furniture in there too.
So I'm like, I can't give y'all everything, because I can say, go out and get Classy. And you're like, oh, Classy doesn't, that irritates me when people come back and complain to me about what something, is. I'm not a computer geek. I'm not I'm telling you what you need. I'm telling you why you need it. It is your responsibility as the organization's founder and executive director to identify the system that works best for your organization. I've given you the essentials, I've given you the foundation, and hopefully I've given you a different perspective at looking at systems, so that when you start to do your research, you can say, oh yes, I need to make sure that this system captures, not only funders data, but staff data, volunteer data, right? So
Yes.
to give you something to think about. But yeah, you got to do the research and pick the system that's best for you.
Yeah.
In the course on the platform, I list at least a dozen, so you can just take down
in each one. I wrote down some that I think was familiar to me, but like in each thing that you need to do, there's like 5, 6, 7 different things, and then there's a list under those things. So it's like, yeah, a wealth of information.
Yeah, so you can just go through them and say, okay, this one doesn't have a feature, this one has a feature, but I try and make it, somewhat easy for you by giving you a group that you can choose from. Yes. So we are well on our way. Miss Kimberly, how are you feeling about this process?
Oh my goodness. I am feeling so great about everything. Like I said, starting out, I think I was all over the place. I had no clue about a lot of things, but now it's not that I know things. It's just that like I'm confident about the things that I know because I know why. It's just not like a whole bunch of information. Like here, this you do it because this is how you do it. It's like a why behind it, so it makes it easier to grasp, and you can hold on to it. And then when you go back and you think about when you're going to do this step, how you're going to do this step, you're like, oh yeah, because this, and it kind of like helps you remember the thing next. You know what I'm saying?
Sticks with you because when you know the why, like you said, it connects to something. People are just throwing out the information, and that's what typical nonprofit consultants do. No shade, but they'll tell you the what. They may even tell you the how, but it is the why that gives you confidence. Yes. Why do you need systems? You can go to your board right now and say, well, we need systems because this is going to allow us to get funding. It's going to be able to give us the opportunity to create these financial systems. Like, that. Why you need it. Why you need a budget. Why you need measurable goals and objectives. It changes the whole game when you understand the why.
Yes, it builds confidence. It is confidence, right? You know what I mean? So now I know that I can sit down in front of anybody and talk about how we're going to fund this nonprofit in all different type of ways, all my 10 revenue streams, and why I need those 10 revenue streams. Because I mean, first of all, the IRS said, you can't just be dependent on one thing, right? But I mean, what if that one thing falls through? Then you just dead in the water. So, I mean, I would like to have my eggs spread it out and not all in one basket. But I just feel like here at this point, like I can talk to anybody about money. I don't know, building programs, volunteer, whatever I need to talk to them about to get them on board with the organization.
And that changes the whole conversation. As opposed to you being like, well, can you give me money? Why? Because I need it.
Right. Right.